Hi everyone, my name is Kohinoor. Why don't we move up closer? This is going to feel like more intimate and we can have a better conversation. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about the 22,000 people, and I'm going to talk about what we do and how you can help. So, there's Anna. She is Anna Weber, who is the Development Associate at West Valley Community Services. So let me introduce myself and start a little bit by how I got here. My name is Kohinoor Chakravarti. I am the Director of Development and Communications at West Valley Community Services. And my story started a long time ago, 20 years back, with nonprofits. When, as a young girl, I grew up in a city where in the middle of the night there was a poison gas that leaked over 60 miles and killed 25,000 people. And I lost friends and family. I was unconscious for a very long time, but I survived. And we helped a lot of children whose parents had died in their sleep, and there was nobody to identify them, and took them in, and hence my interest in nonprofits started, and that's how sometimes life takes you where you don't think you might end up, but it's been a wonderful journey. All of you are soon, or in a couple of years, will be heading to college, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But you'll figure out your paths and your journey. But if you can, your interest and support of nonprofits, keep that alive all your life, because there is nothing more valuable than humanity, right? Anyway, enough about that. So let's talk about West Valley Community Services. We have a board member here, right here, Sandra, who's here to support us, so thank you so much for being here. West Valley Community Services. It's a simple mission. The mission is about uniting the community to fight hunger and homelessness. So we have a vision. You cannot have a mission, you cannot work towards an end if you don't have a vision. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today, it doesn't mean it's going to happen in the next year, but we want to see a community where everybody has food on their table and everybody has a roof over their heads, right? So when we say homelessness, what does that mean to you? People who are on the streets, right? People you see at corners when you're driving with your parents, probably, or when you're driving, you see people standing on street corners with signs that's homelessness, right? What we don't see, there are a lot of people who are struggling, who kind of fall in that low-income category. They are living in porches, they are living in people's garages. There are 8 families that are living in 2 rooms. The other day, I was at a place where I went in to deliver some food, and there was this family that was in a small little area, and they had a curtain in the middle. She just had a new baby, and that's why I was delivering food to them. And they had a curtain in the middle, and 3 families lived there, you know, just in that small little area. To me, that is home insecure. It's not just the people who are on the streets, but these are the invisible people that you do not see. This is the Silicon Valley. This is the place of Google, Apple, Facebook, Cisco, all of these innovations, the companies, the billionaires, the venture capitalists. And here we are, where every 12th child is suffering from poverty. Every 11th adult is poor. There is homelessness, there's hunger that's invisible. And so I thank you for this opportunity to come speak to you and have a conversation around poverty, what it looks like. West Valley Community Services is not new. We have been here since 1973, started by 2 nurses who started giving out blankets and clothes in the community for people who were in need. And then it grew and grew and became this organization which we are today. It took years, it took work, it took board members, it took advisors, it took the whole community to make it who we are. So our first pantry, food wasn't part of this, but the first pantry started with people who were going hungry, who had no food. This started in 1990. And I want to tell you something about our pantry. It's very unique. You go to grocery stores, right? Like to Safeway or Trader Joe's, and you see all these fresh, nice vegetables that are being sprayed, right? Am I correct? Yeah? Well, guess what? Next day, they throw out everything that didn't get sold. What does that mean? It adds thousands and millions of pounds of greenhouse gases into our environment. That's unconsumed vegetables and meats and things like that. And here, there's this bunch of people, thousands of people who are going hungry. And there's food that's been thrown out. And that doesn't make sense, does it? So our model is fantastic because our volunteers, they come 8 a.m. in the morning, they take our trucks, they go to Whole Foods, to Sprout, to Trader Joe's, to Safeway, all of these grocery stores, and they bring back all the food that they were going to throw out. They're fresh, they're nice, everything is good, they just bring it back. There are volunteers who are waiting in our office, in our pantry, take those crates, sort them out, shelf them, number them, everything is ready. There's a line outside our door, people who are waiting to get food. They come inside, they take the food. We don't spend a dime in getting that food. And we are saving our environment, we are providing food to the hungry, and yet we are, kind of meeting both ends. Isn't that a great model? So, but all this work is done by volunteers, and I'll talk more about that. The Chefs of Compassion. I cannot finish this presentation without talking about Chefs of Compassion. What is Chefs of Compassion? Has anybody heard about that in the area? Yes, one person. So Chefs of Compassion, it started with our clients because we also have nutrition classes, right? So how to make a spaghetti squash, how to make zucchini and things, because we have so many different ethnicities. Not everybody knows how to cook everything, but the nutrition, you've heard about obesity in a young age and how that affects people as they become adults. So we have nutrition classes, and at some point, the clients started to compete with each other with cooking. It was a lot of fun, and then they thought, well, why don't we make that as our annual event? So we have one annual event, which is our fundraiser. What we do is we go and find chefs in the community, celebrity chefs. So we had the winner of, has anybody seen the Food Network, like Chopped, right? Everybody's seen that. So we have the winner of Food Network in Cutthroat Kitchen. We had the executive chef of Google. We had the personal best rated chef of Bay Area. And they come in and they have 10 minutes. They take ingredients from our pantry and they have to go home and make the dish. So they could either make an appetizer or a salad or dessert. And then they enter this competition. And then caterers, who are our caterers, replicate those same recipes for 300 people or 400 people, and they vote to see who wins. So it's a lot of fun. That's our main fundraising event. So next time you hear Chefs of Compassion or you see a flyer or read about it in the news, you'll know what we are talking about. It's West Valley Community Services signature event. Actually, I'm excited because soon we'll have our 45th anniversary. Okay, so the zip codes we serve, 7 zip codes we are serving over here. That's Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Gatos, and West San Jose. We also serve all of the mountain areas, like up high around Santa Cruz. So is there really a need for West Valley Community Services? This is a place of wealth, right? According to the Silicon Valley Business Journal, we have the 4 highest, just the Silicon Valley itself tips the US's wealth. You all know that already, yeah, right? The companies we have. So Saratoga is number 4. Los Gatos is the 7th and 12th, and Cupertino is the 19th in terms of wealth. And how can we have so much poverty here? So take a look at this. If you see over here, the federal government has a number that it assigns as poverty levels. There are certain indicators of that. And the population that you see in Cupertino, 9.6%, but as you can see in San Jose, that's the largest. That's where you are at, right? I'm sure many people live around here. But would you have guessed that 36.99% are living in poverty in West San Jose? Would you have guessed that, right? So this is invisible, this is unseen. You don't see it, but there is real poverty here. And these numbers are scary. These numbers are real and scary. Like, where is this world headed to? 22,000 people in just the zip codes we serve. Now in our heads, what does 22,000 people look like? If you filled the Shoreline Amphitheatre, has anybody gone there for a concert? You know how big it is, right? And 22,000 people, if you filled everybody into that amphitheater, that's what it would look like. But that's the number of poor people we have. So, what do the numbers say? To survive in the Bay Area, to be self-sufficient, how much should a family of 4, what should be their earnings? 86,000. How many people who are in the service place in transportation, people who are driving our buses or trucks, or you see in your restaurants, or people who, when you go into grocery store, they are selling all that. How many people earn that amount? Any guesses? The percentage is really, really low. But they have to survive over here with the real estate values and pricing of housing being so extravagant, and so many people being under 100% of poverty level. That just does not add up. So then it's going to get skewed. People are leaving over here, but just the other day, a client was telling me, this is the place where my children were born. This is where they have played in the parks. I lost my employment, I lost my job, and I'm at an age where nobody's employing me back, and people say, why don't you leave this area? They're like, why should I go? Where should I go? Because every family member, everything I've ever known is in this area. And she lives in a car. 5 months she's been living in a car because she cannot afford a place to move into. So, as I was saying, 1 out of every 12 Silicon Valley resident is below poverty level, the federal poverty level, and 1 out of every 11 children in Silicon Valley right here are below poverty level. We see that in schools. There was a professor who reached out to us who taught in De Anza College. And they reached out to us because they were holding their classes and kids were falling asleep because they hadn't eaten in 3 days. So they were making stews in the classroom, just boiling rice and feeding the students because there was such a high number of people who hadn't eaten in days. So we started a pantry in De Anza College. We supply food at West Valley College. There are a lot of college students who are in that poverty level, and they see education as the only way out. We had this girl called Kimberly, who was in De Anza College, and her parents, actually her mom and brother, decided to leave the area because they couldn't afford to live here anymore. Kimberly knew that being poor means a hard life forever, but education was the only way out of that, and she was a student at De Anza, so she had to make a choice that either she could leave with her mom and brother and restart wherever life took them, or she could live here and finish her education. So she's decided to just be here. She started to couch surf and be at garages and people's porches because she needed to buy books and continue her education. But what happened was, that's a difficult life. She couldn't study. It's risky for a girl to be doing that. She was only 17. So she came to West Valley Community Services, and we were able to house her. And so she continued with her education, and now she's graduated. So a lot of success stories like that, but I would like you to take a look at this chart about rental affordability. If you look at the blue line, that's the line which is in the rest of California, right? And look at the green line there. Do you see the huge difference, right? That's us here. And then the purple San Francisco. San Francisco is even worse. So if the rents are going to look like that, how are people going to afford housing? And then here, do you see like pop and mom shops being taken down, a lot of construction happening around, and right? Like lots of changes, right? Lots of buildings that are being built. Who's building for low-income families? Nobody. So in the 2000, if you see the bar, there was at least some push for making that. But now in 2016, the numbers are only like 7% of that is for people who cannot afford housing. Take a look at this. I find it very interesting that what is the average service occupation? What do they make in the Bay Area? About 30,000. And what did we see? We saw that 86,000 is what you need to survive here with a family of 4. So even if 2 parents were earning as service occupation, they could be hosts at your restaurant or waitressing or doing anything. And even if 2 parents were earning that, they are only adding up to, let's say, 60,000. So with 2 kids, they're homeless. There are so many people who are living in cars, so many people with young children in cars with their pets, or living in somebody's porch in cars in garages. But these are the people who are homeless already. How about prevention of homelessness? How do we prevent people from becoming homeless? Right? That's where WVCS also comes in. So, our stories of impact. When we say that we see a lot of kids and parents who are living in cars, we provide services. Actually, we provide services where people can come and take food from our pantry without any cost. And 57% of the food needs in a whole year is covered by us. That means that anything else they save can go towards their rent. These people live mostly from month to month. Then there's a car breakdown or a child that falls ill or something happens, they cannot pay the bills, which means their water gets shut off, their electricity gets shut off, they are in the home in the dark with no water, no electricity, with little babies, and that's where we step in and give those financial emergency support so that they can pay their bills, they can stay housed, and the food they can get can provide them so that they don't have to spend extra in groceries, and they can pay towards their rent, so that we prevent eviction. there are many stories, many families that are going through this today, right? So you will see, let's talk about the number of people who come to us. So our offices are in Cupertino. As you can see, there is a large 27% that we see of clients are from Cupertino, but 25% are from West San Jose, which is this area. And we want to send the word out. We are constantly working towards reaching out to people saying that we are here, we want to serve more people. If you need us, come see us. So we have an RV. It just so happened that one gentleman, Charlie, traveled from Los Gatos for 4 hours to get our produce and food and would go back for 4 hours. And by the time they changed the buses and made it in traffic, all the produce, the milk, eggs, everything has gone bad, right? So we said that if they cannot come to us, we need to go where they are at. So we got this huge RV from Second Harvest, and we put a refrigerator in there, we stuffed it with food, and we take it from place to place. There's a case manager there who meets with them to see what their needs are and supports them through that. So this RV also goes to West Valley College, where across from that is the senior center. There are a lot of seniors who bought their homes many, many, many years ago. And now the value of the home has gone up indeed, but they don't have fluid cash to buy food because all their savings go in paying the property taxes or sustaining themselves, their medical bills, etc. But they are kind of landlocked in their homes. So they come to us, they come to the pantry to get food as well. Let's see some other data here. We see, of all the people we see 60% of them are women, 40% are men. Life circumstances, sometimes divorce, sometimes domestic violence, just losing a job. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. So it is hard to predict where life takes anybody, but we see, as you can see the numbers over here, a lot of them are single adults, 49%, and there's 20% of families that we see, and many of them are actually under the age of 18. So of the families we see, 45% are under the age of 18, so a lot of kids. 35% increase year over year. That's the number of people we are having to serve. And so we have to match the fundraising as well, because at the end of it, a nonprofit only survives with funding. And so up till now, we've been able to do that successfully, thanks to our board and our team. And we have only 19 staff, but we have 600 volunteers through the year. That's a huge number if you think about it, because we have 160 volunteers every week. So the people who pick up the food, people who train on computers, there are people who are sorting the food, there are translators, there's front desk admin. So if you ever want to help, there's a lot of scope. You can come volunteer with us, or have your friends or family members or whoever you can encourage to volunteer. You could come and do that. I talked about De Anza students already, and we are seeing that before classes start or after classes have ended, people stop by at our RV to receive food. Our services are like a one-stop place. If they don't have a cell phone, we'll make sure they get one. If they don't have food stamps, some people are becoming homeless for the first time. It's such a hard thing to do. Their self-esteem is suffering, they feel depressed, they don't know where to turn to, and they come to our place and we are able to give them this, fill out forms for them, help them connect to resources, anything they need. So we have housing. Do you see the white houses in the middle? We have 24 units. They are 1 or 2 bedroom units that people who can be housed over there. And as I said, there is the food pantry. What I didn't talk about is the other programs we have. So we have a program which is called Back to School. Kids who grow over the summer are, where it feels like you're not part of the rest of the world. Their self-esteem suffers, who they are and how they study, everything is impacted. But we give them backpacks, we fill that with crayons and paperwork and anything they need, copybooks. And then there are volunteers, whole of a store like Cole participated. They just block off everybody early in the morning. There's like coffee outside and donuts, and 200 volunteers show up and 200 families show up with kids, and all the kids are taken by these volunteers inside who shop for clothes and backpacks and things like that. Similarly, we have a program called Gift of Hope, which is during Christmas, that volunteers will organize to buy blankets or kettles or microwave or jackets, whoever needs whatever, and they are all gift wrapped and given to them. So all this is a lot to do with dignity of life. We have a little community garden that we grow stuff in, and we partner with other organizations. So up until now, a couple of months ago, YMCA members were coming in and volunteering and digging in there and putting in plants and helping us so that we would have our little garden there. So right now we have opened it to the housing, the picture that you saw, to the community and the families who live there to come and garden and use that as a way to resource their food. So, how many pounds of food do we distribute in a year? It's a huge number. It's 644 pounds of food that is given. 71 pounds of food per person we give out. So that helps them sustain themselves so that they don't have to buy food. So as I was talking to you before, we do health insurance, we do food stamps, and we help in any which way we can. This is like a one-stop place. We work with other organizations like El Camino Hospital with diabetes and different ethnic groups that come in. We provide food for them, and we also make sure that if they have certain diseases that they are fighting, or there's certain preventive steps that we could take so that they have healthy and nutritious eating, we provide that. We have exercise classes as well, and cooking classes in our West Valley Community Services. That's the picture of the RV. That's the one we take around with food that's refrigerated, and a caseworker who goes around from place to place. It is at different schools, it's at churches, it's in a college, and people come to the pantry, to the RV to take food. I talked about the homeless supportive services. So when a person approaches us, a case manager sits with them and finds out what is going on, where they are at, what kind of help they need, because every person is going through a unique situation in their life. And so helping them find the right solution, whether it's quick housing, whether it's help with something else, that's what our case managers do. We also have financial coaches, a bunch of people who volunteer and actually do the taxes for our clients so that they save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so they don't have to, they get a refund and then they get do better for their families. Well, here's a picture of our cooking classes, and we have job fairs and health fairs that you can see. So hundreds of people participate in our educational programs every year. And here's a little girl who's standing with gifts for her Christmas. and another mom with a baby, and then kids who are going back to school who have backpacks and books and such. Here's a letter from a mom who said that we basically make the playing field level for people, and that it matters that their self-esteem for their children are taken care of over the years. So I would like to end with a story of this mom who wrote the letter. She went to Los Gatos High School. She went to USC for her engineering, and UC San Diego for a management. After she finished her engineering, she went into management and did that. Then she got married. She was working happily in her career, and then she had children, and her youngest was very ill, had to go through many surgeries. The doctors basically said that this child needs a lot of care, so she had to quit her job and stay at home. When financial pressures happen in a family, there are other things that kind of break. So the dad, her husband, was now becoming suddenly abusive to the kids and to her, so she had to leave the house with her children. She was on the streets and living in a car with her kids. And so she came to WVCS when the kids were young, and now her oldest is in Boston College with full scholarship, and her second daughter is in Riverside with full scholarship, and her children are now doing much better. And so, what she basically says is that right from getting the food to backpacks every year to clothing to all of the pens, pencils and everything, you guys have seen them through where they're in college now. And it's just such a gratifying thing to know that, that's the kind of difference you can make. We do a lot of advocacy. That is something that we have started new, to stand up and be there for our clients and advocate in the community and with politicians to say that this is what our need. That's very new. And as a part of our strategic plan, we have just added that, and our board members are helping with that. So how can you get involved? You can learn more about us. You could visit our website. You could do a site visit, come see what our pantry is like. You could volunteer by doing all of the roles that I already mentioned, and support by making a gift or helping out in other ways. So this is Helen Keller's saying, and I quite like that alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much more. So, questions? How about, do you have any questions? I'll be happy to answer. Any thoughts that you would like to share? Oh, yes. Yes, so good question. Basically what he's asking is, what is the cause of poverty here in the Bay Area? And he said, did you say that if it was the housing or it was something else, or there are larger things at play? So to answer your question, it is actually larger things at in the Bay Area especially. Housing definitely has a big role to play in it. Living costs in the Bay Area are much higher than in other places. Many people have migrated from other places and begin their life here. And so, the privileges that some people have, others don't. And if you think about it, when a child is going through poverty, and it influences their life in the future as well. So as they grow up, the cycle of poverty remains with them. So unless they break that cycle of poverty, unless somebody's there to support them break that cycle of poverty, it's going to be generational, So how do we break that cycle? It's this education. How do we break that cycle? By making changes in the community. So you're right in saying that there is many more variables. There is a big picture, other things that are at play, other than just housing itself.
preventing homelessness. So how do you know where those people are, or how do you find them? What's the way for them to get to you, or vice versa?
Very good question. So, what's your name?
Manjari.
So Manjari is asking that we talked about preventing homelessness, and how do we find out where they are at and how do we reach them? So what we do is we make a really big effort to do an outreach. So we go to churches, we leave our flyers there, we go to laundromats, we go to restaurants, we walk in the community and talk to people. We, especially word of mouth, our clients, we tell them all the time to find other people and who are in need, to bring them over to us so we could help. So a lot of the people who are looking for help actually have just found out about us or knew about us but didn't have the courage to come. Sometimes there's a lot of stigma associated with seeking help, because you want to do it on your own, and that is so hard. We try to spread the word as much as we can. When I see people at the street corners, if they are in Mountain View, I'll tell them about Mountain View Community Services. If they're in Sunnyvale, I'll tell them, I give our cards out. Our board members as well do that they tell them about WVCS and they come to us. So they have to be in our zip codes to receive our services, like case management and all that. But if somebody comes to our door for the first time, we never say no to them. We always give them food. And as you saw, West San Jose has so much of a need. That's a great percentage of the people who are going through poverty issues. And so spreading the word there and making sure we are able to support them. And our council member, Happy Jones, is here. Thank you so much for coming. Yes. And so, working together and receiving his support and the city's supports to make this a possibility. So we try our best to get the word out there to clients.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So, like outside the Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and such, I see people who stand there with cards and they're looking for. So, my typical thing is to buy gift cards to a grocery store, but a lot of times they don't have language, like they don't speak English, and so even just like telling them what that card is, it's hard. So if I were to go up to someone and say, you can go to West Valley Community, they might not understand.
Yes, so in terms of that, yes, I have done that myself. And as you speak, a couple of weeks back, I stopped at Whole Foods. I had driven past, I went back and gave them my card and showed them the address. So although the language is a barrier, they are able to at least see the address of the place name, and our hope is that they will come there. Many of them are in transition, like they're going from one country to the other, but that's a very small population. In terms of language barriers, we have translators in every language. So we have forms, we have Farsi, we have Japanese, and so when we have an event like a gift of hope, where we are wrapping Christmas gifts or giving them turkey or giving them food, we have all sorts of forms that are translated. We have people there who are speaking Mandarin or any kind of translation needs that might be there who help out. So we want to do our best in reaching everybody. And it's a lot about dignity. And I would like to talk a little more. That's one of our values, is to provide dignity to our clients. How do we stand out from other community services? We just don't put things in a bag and hand it to people. If we have a right to go into a grocery store and look at different shelves and choose what we want, why wouldn't somebody who is fighting poverty? So in our pantry, they walk in and they actually go from shelf to shelf and shop, because their family needs are different. People eat different things. Their ethnicities are different. If we don't provide them, that's not a sense of dignity we provide. So when a person is poor, they're already going through so much more. We just want to make it easier for them. We want to give them every kind of support that we can, emotionally, physically, verbally, language, anything we can do to make their life easy. Yes?
So in terms of housing, you only have 24 units. So how do you help, obviously that there must be a huge waiting list. So how do you help people get housing when they can't fit in the 24 units?
So yeah, that is the limitation we have in housing in the Bay Area. We have the 24 units, and we have also some housing outside of that in a place called Greenwood, and there is a waiting list for people. So yes, you are right. It is not something we can give them overnight, but we have a person who just works as a housing referral resources, and their full-time work is to look for housing wherever and connect our clients to them. So it may not be our housing, but any kind of housing that is open that we connect resources to. For our housing, they have to qualify would be moving somewhere else, but if they are still under that level, then they continue to stay there. And in this economy, or it's just when they are going through so much, they're not going to jump to, it rarely happens that they will jump to $90,000 from the $20,000 they're making per year. So they that's the kind of support we are able to provide until they get a good footing and stability.
So if we were to encounter like a homeless person on the street, what would your advice be as to how we can best help them? And if they were asking for money, would that be the best option in order to help them?
Yeah, good question. So she basically Sarah basically asked that if we see people on the street side and they're asking for money, is that the best way to support them? We encourage you to not provide them with money, because you don't know whether it's really going for food or to support addiction or something like that. But giving them the information about West Valley Community Services or any community that you see them in, that is oftentimes much more helpful. And sometimes even talking to the person and finding out what's going on. It's happened that where I'll find somebody, a woman who's standing at the street corner asking for money, and finding out that she is in a housing and she has a baby, and then asking her to come to West Valley Community Support and connecting her to different kind of resources for a woman. That has been helpful. So also I wanted to, there's a lot of myth about homelessness and addictions and things like that. That is actually not every homeless person is addicted to something, or not every homeless person has a mental illness. So because we subscribe to HIPAA, we don't take that information other than what disabilities they have, right? But think about it. If you didn't have a home, if you didn't have food for days together, you were out on the streets, in the wind, in the cold at night by yourself. Most of the time when you are going through this, your family, your friend, everybody turns away. That happens as well. Even if somebody doesn't have a mental illness, it's easy to become depressed. It's easy to fall into that groove of like hopelessness, right? And that's where we step in to give them hope and to make sure that they have the support and the resources. It's a difficult life. It's incredibly difficult, So, that being there and supporting them is so very critical. Any other questions?
I have two questions. First, do you offer services for transgender people?
Okay, so her question was if we offer services to people who are transgender. Our one of our values, we are driven by 5 values, and one of them is diversity. Yes, we do. We absolutely make sure that everybody who comes to WVCS is treated with equality and with respect. Yes, we serve everybody, every ethnicity, every person, every gender, including transgender. What was your second question?
How do you support transgender? Do you offer services for their transition?
So depends on where they are at. Of course, the basic needs as in food and all of the services that we provide, we would be doing that. But since we are not set up to provide any kind of transition for them, or any kind of medical transition or special housing, it's the housing that everybody goes to, everybody gets the food, there's all kinds of diversity we'll support. They're part of that, they're part of us, everybody is. So in terms of support like that, and then looking into resources, our case managers are really good. They would research, they would see which is the place that they can best go to have discussions with them and make sure that they are supported in any way and manner that we can support.
Yes.
Okay, so at another community service place that I used to go volunteer at, they required people that wanted the food to provide proper paperwork and like identification. And obviously people that are in financial struggles and that don't have a place to stay, they always don't have their identification. Do you guys require that too?
Yes, so because there are some requirements of the EAN that we support, and then, so let me back up a bit. This is very interesting. When you ask a person who's homeless, where is their home or what's their address? Do they have an address all the time? No, they don't. Right? Because many times they are in transition. When it gets colder in San Francisco, they move down here. When it's warmer, they'll go up there. And they could be transitioning through this whole belt of California. And I really, it touches my heart. When you ask them, what's your address? Are you homeless? They'll say, no, my home is California. I'm just unsheltered. I just love that reply. And how can you deny services to somebody who doesn't have an address? But what we look for is basically in the last week or so, have they been around in Cupertino? Have they been in Saratoga? Have they been somewhere like that, right? So if they're in a car, are they parked in a church nearby? Or where are they mostly, at that time and place? So as far as food goes, anybody who comes to our door, and anytime we don't deny them, but as for casework and their services to continue to get all the resources, we do require that they are in the 7 zip codes that we serve. If they are not, we provide them all the information to go to. If they are in Mountain View, then Mountain View Community Services or Sunnyvale, or if they are in the Sacred Heart community, then we don't want to step on other people's toes. There are other service people that, provide services, so we are very respectful of each other.
So going off of the documentation question, what would happen if someone came to you and then they talked to you about how they're an undocumented immigrant? What would be your legal response, or what was your response in the past?
If they are undocumented immigrants, it is none of our business. That's how we like to keep it. We are serving the poor, we are serving people in need, and that's what we want to do, right? So, and many times our clients are very afraid to reach us or get support from us because they think that if they have to fill out a form, or if they don't speak the language, they can't read, they are so afraid that if they get our services that we might somehow report them, they might have greater repercussions of just getting food from our pantry. And so we reinforce this again and again, that this is nothing to do with immigration. It has nothing to do with what their status is. Our work, our dedicated work, is to serve their need of hunger and how we can support them just be stabilized and be stronger in the roles that they are in, be people where they support their families. So, yes.
What volunteer positions do high schoolers typically take? And what are the options for high schoolers if they want to volunteer at the WPCF?
Depends. Are you writing essays for colleges now? Then we don't see you in our West Valley Community Services at all. But During the summers, a lot of kids come in either groups, like your club, they could come as a group, and outside of summers as well. You could volunteer. There's pantry cleaning. There's little things that we need to get our vans washed that get food. We need our crates washed. We need our shelves rearranged. We need handwritten thank you cards made. There's like always stuffing envelopes. There's always something, and Anna can tell you more about. We're always stuffing envelopes to send out information to our donor communities. There's always a lot of things that you can help with. So, but we do look for permanent people who are trained, who know how to take the van and get food, source that. We look for people who are permanently helping us sort food. And we have lots of these people who are our lifeline, 600 volunteers through the year, only 19 staff. That's it. Everything else is done by volunteers. And if this wasn't a great community, we wouldn't see 600 people, right? So it's a great community that we get supported. We just need to get San Jose more involved. We have Cupertino, we are starting to get Los Gatos. We need the involvement of San Jose more. So, yes. Oh, I love this. So many wonderful questions.
I noticed in an earlier slide that the majority of people who use your services are whites or Asians. And is there a reason for that? Or is it just that, say, other ethnicities like blacks don't use your services? Or is there like a stigma that is associated with an organization?
Yes, so very interesting question, and I'm glad you noticed that. We get this question a lot, and people kind of assume that most of the people who come to us for help would be Hispanic communities or the Black communities. Guess what? It's the white community that receives the most amount of services from us. And I don't think it is a function of just stigma, because everybody feels that everybody has self-respect and everybody has self-esteem, and so it's kind of a human core feeling. But I think it is just where we live, and because community services has been there for a long time, we kind of think, that's my guess, that the white communities who are in Cupertino kind of know about us but the other communities who are newer, and immigration has to do something with that. I think the fear that they might be deported or they might receive our help, but then that fear might have something to do more than stigma. But if we were in Oakland or somewhere where there is a majority of population of African Americans, we might see more of the Black communities come for support. But I think it has to do with where we are at. A good question.
Do you provide any educational services for people who don't struggle with English, or do you help them understand writing?
So we have a volunteer who's there who helps with computers, so that they can even get help in translations. Other than that, education, we are getting into this 2 new programs, which I should mention. One is called RIDE, and you'll find brochures with more information there. And I'll answer your education question first. We are trying to get into a place where, for careers, when kids are graduating from college, from schools and getting into colleges, there's not that opportunity for people to tell them how to write a resume, how to do your college essays. And this is such a competitive world today, how to apply for scholarships. And so we are looking at hiring someone who can just support us in doing something like that, just education-wise, just career support. We already have job fairs, we already have health fairs, we have financial coaching. So if you think about it, nobody teaches us to balance a checkbook. We have, calculus, we have algebra, not the basic things. Don't sign a contract when it says free, because after a couple of months you're going to be charged $100. Like some basic things that we do not teach our children. And the financial coaches actually, and our case managers, sit down with them and teach them so that they do not fall into that cycle of payday lending and signing contracts where they're being taken advantage of, right? So that kind of education happens. And hopefully by the next year or so, we will be helping with education where they are going to be writing college essays and help them succeed to that next step. I always think of it as not a hand down, as not a hand out, but a hand up. That's what we do. Yes?
How can the city of San Jose support you in your mission?
Oh my gosh, please meet with us. We've been looking for a meeting forever. Yes. Okay, when can we come to your office?
As soon as possible.
All right, okay. So that's a huge conversation. We need the city's support in many different ways. And just to have a place in San Jose, just to be supported by where we can give out food, we really need the city's backing. And it has been amazing that you are here, but we would love to get deeper engagement. And if you can just give us and work together and give you ideas of how we can make that happen.
We'll do that. I'll give you my card.
Okay, that's fantastic. I look forward to seeing you. A huge clap for Shanti. That's amazing, yes. As I understand, you're also two of our board members' neighbors. Yes, we would love to serve the clients who are in San Jose, get a deeper engagement. We have a huge community that is in need there, and I know you're always looking to help. So we just need to join hands. That's all we need to do.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Any other questions? I think we can wrap it up. We are, yes, you have a question.
You mentioned that age-wise, the majority of clients are like teenagers.
No.
Or young people.
With some young people.
So that what's the
percentage? Yes.
In terms of age?
So, if I'm correct, then the ages of 28 to 45 is the highest, and then the second age group we help is seniors. But many of the families that we see, 45% of them come with kids who are 18 years and younger. So yes, so we do help the teenagers, but a lot of seniors. So speaking of which I totally forgot, is to mention about RIDE. Seniors need to go to grocery stores. Seniors need to go to see their doctors to get prescriptions, and so now we have something special which is called the RIDE program, where volunteers who are, can come and actually, Joe Smidian started this, and the counties are coming together where we, supported by the counties, help seniors go to these places with a minimal cost. So our volunteers, we're looking for more volunteers who would just drive whenever they can and take our seniors to different places. And this has just started, and we are finding more resources and people, and we would love San Jose to support us and join in that endeavor as well. So RIDE, we're lots of successful programs, and we just cannot and will not be able to do this without all of your support. Thank you so much for sitting, and one more question.
I meant this to be the last question.
That's perfectly fine.
I know as a nonprofit organization, your needs can be on various. So if I have to say, I have short memory, so when I walk away, if I want to impress myself with your top 3 needs, what are they? Can you elaborate a bit? Just based on your understanding, it doesn't have to be like a scientific answer.
I can give you a scientific answer. Donation. Yes. So that's what donation of finances, donation of your time, and donation of your support. right? So when I say time, meaning volunteering, coming and seeing us, come for a site visit, get engaged. Donation of money, which is the basic of any nonprofit, and in kind. If lots of people, when somebody in memory of your parents, in memory of a friend or whatever, if you can donate, that's wonderful. If you have in-kind donations that you want to make, only food, we cannot. Sometimes people come and give us a lot of the clothes, and my bedding's extra, and the bed and the bed frame and their TV. We really can't deal with all that. We just say, go to Goodwill, because storage is an issue, right? The space is only limited in our office. But we do accept food. So people have orange trees and apple trees and peaches and things. So we get a lot of that. People in the community bring us boxes and boxes of the things that they cannot consume. So that helps us a lot. Thank you. I'm happy to take more questions if anybody has, or if not, then yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about, we're living here in the 2 zip codes that you support. Can you tell us how the needs changed over time? Has it gotten, I think everywhere the needs grown, but for West Valley, just this area. So for example, too, we have a lot more homeless people in our parks, and we noticed that. And so just what's your knowledge of the need in this area, how it's changed in the recent times?
Yes. So although I will not be able to, like you say, a scientific answer of exactly the numbers, but Santa Clara County came up with a recent survey, and in every single area, the need of homeless people, the need of poverty has gone up. So the homeless count, so every January, and including our staff actually, they go out in the middle of the night and they count, like until sundown to sunrise, they do a count with the help of the county officials and find out like what's the number this year compared to last year, what's the number. And so in 2017, what we found is that the numbers have really gone up. So although I will not be able to give you exactly the numbers for the 2 zip codes, but we definitely know that it's appalling. The numbers are so huge, we did not expect this kind of a rise. So that brings us to making more community awareness, more community engagement, so that we can help deal with this rising issue. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being patient and listening to our talk, and so grateful for all of you being here, so grateful for your support. Thank you so much, Sarah, for doing this incredible, yes, a big hand for